this was the premise for that first question about a shallow versus deep quad 4 and quad 1. Hopefully you've been able to get a chance to get through that. Genron, can we pull up? So what I've done here is what we did, because Genron's a rock star. He went back to 2019 and he found the kind of quad map for 2019 versus what we have today. So Genron, yeah, exactly, perfect. So back in December 2019, the X and Y axis is really important and it matters, right? It matters in math. And so the X and Y axis here is 70 by 70 bips. And that's possibly one of the reasons why you're kind of, visually it's appearing as though, the quads are a bit more shallower or than they have historically. Now, the thing is though, is that we've come from, and if you go to the 2022 one from this morning, what you see there is 250 bips by 250 bips. And that's because of where we've come. This is an unprecedented time in our lives. What we saw from both a GDP growth and now kind of and inflation growth from that perspective, right? So because of that, they've gone out on the X and the Y axes, and things have spread out. So in terms of what appears as a shallow quad 4, I would say that if you really kind of dive into the numbers, that's not really quite the case. So the probability, so Genron, yeah. So if we pull up kind of the slides from the macro quarter update that Macro Pro Subs got on Wednesday, slide 13 and 15, or sort of 13 first, we can kind of review what the nowcast. Exactly, perfect. So this is the numbers that make up where the quads land on that on those quadrants and on the X and Y axes. So that'd be the real GDP growth and then the inflation expectations, the headline inflation. So what you can see here, and again, this is a sneak peek from what you get on the Macro Pro and what Keith and the team and Steiner updated on Wednesday morning. Is what you can see there that we were at a 12% growth back in Q2 of 21, and we're now casting basically 0% going into a 0% growth in Q3 of 23. So that's kind of that because of those drastic kind of moves is why you're seeing those basically the way that the quad map looks currently in your TMS on a daily basis. Similarly on the headline CPI number, slide 15 there, you're seeing this big ramp from call it 2-ish% back in late 2019, which is where we had that prior 75 by 75 bip quad model, right? So it kind of had a bunch of twos there in front of it, and then we've ramped over the course of throughout 21 and 22, early 22 to 8 and change, 8.5 in terms of the headline CPI, and now we're casting for kind of basically that being cut in half down to 4 and a bit. So just wanted to kind of highlight that for you in terms of really this is what we're talking about in terms of obviously GDP going to zero, and the companies, Keith's talked about this on the call on the macro show in terms of companies never operating in a zero GDP environment. And we'll segue into this in a minute. I forget which, but in terms of the headline inflation, excuse me, that number kind of staying sticky and elevated. The Fed's looking for a 2% rate, and we're now casting kind of just a bit over 4% in a few quarters. So that's when we say kind of a disinflationary environment. That's what we mean. It's going to be going down, but it's going to remain elevated from a historical standpoint.